At the beginning, he crossed over and became the King of Qin. The Eight Kingdoms alliance attacked the courtiers, and they even wanted to sacrifice 8 princess sisters and relatives to ensure peace. At this time, the strongest heavenly emperor system was activated. Meng Tian. The great Qin black cavalry, the whole army is ready to depart. Zhang Liang. The common people are confused, only I, the great Qin. Yang Jian. I have the eye of heaven to supervise the people for your majesty. Sun Wukong said, my old grandson has 70.2 changes, which can sweep the heavens for his majesty. Pangu said, the heavens of Hongmeng are all the people of his majesty. If anyone refuses, I will strike them with an axe. Keywords of the novel. Summoning mythology. The great Qin heavenly emperor without a pop-up window, summoning mythology. The Great Qin Heavenly Emperor TXT Complete Collection Download, Summoning Mythology. The latest chapter reading of the Great Qin Heavenly Emperor. 1. Is it necessary to get married at the beginning of Chapter 1? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is it necessary to get married at the beginning of Chapter 1? Your Majesty, the million-strong coalition of the 8 kingdoms has arrived at the border of Tianyu Pass. Let's negotiate peace. King, getting married is the only way out. Don't waste time. Your Majesty, please prioritize the 800-year foundation of our Qin state. Opening his eyes, Qin Fusu felt dizzy. A group of elderly people dressed in civil and military officials were constantly shouting below, with all their faces showing signs of confusion, unease, and fear. What's going on? Is this making a movie? Opening his mouth, Qin Fusu expressed that he was very confused. He only remembered being completely drunk the night before. What was the scene when he opened his eyes? Suddenly, Qin Fusu was in a daze, with unfamiliar memories emerging in his mind. Qin Fusu, the puppet king of the state of Qin. 3 days ago, a million-strong coalition of 8 kingdoms attacked, putting the state of Qin in imminent danger. In order to seek peace and preserve themselves, the courtiers wanted to take Qin Fusu's 8 sisters, who were only 13 or 14 years old, to marry the royal families of the 8 kingdoms, in exchange for the surrender of the 8 kingdoms. Kissing. Fart. After accepting the memory, Qin Fusu couldn't help but burst into anger. The emperor guards the city gate, and the monarch dies. Is the backbone of men in this country broken by sacrificing weak women for hypocritical peace? King. Suddenly, a deep voice quietly rang out and woke up Qin Fusu, who had accumulated anger. Looking down, he saw Prime Minister Lv Wei standing up on a chair not far from the throne on the high platform, and he didn't salute him either. He said with an indifferent expression, all officials, please make peace. I also request the king to issue an order for a marriage. It seemed as if he was not requesting an edict, but rather ordering Qin Fusu. Ding. The strongest heavenly emperor system is activated. Reward the heavenly emperor gift pack. Ding. The strongest heavenly emperor system is activated, and the host can use equivalent belief points to summon special troops, civil and military officials, heavenly generals, and various heavenly gods and Buddhas for their own use. Note. Every 10,000 faith points can summon a special unit. Summon civil officials and generals every 100,000 faith points. Summon the heavenly soldiers and generals every 10 million faith points. Summon the gods and Buddhas once for every 100 million faith values. Summon special troops. Summon civil officials and generals. Summon heavenly soldiers and generals. Summon all the heavenly gods and Buddhas. At this moment, Qin Fu couldn't help but get angry, and even wished to burst out laughing. With the existence of the strongest heavenly emperor system, the current dilemma can be solved. What about the 8 kingdoms alliance? When I summon all the heavenly gods and Buddhas, I will be able to suppress everything. Open the summoning panel. Qin Fusu couldn't wait to determine how much faith value he had. As long as he could summon the gods and Buddhas in the sky, all the difficulties could be solved. Ding! Personal panel open. The next second, Qin Fushu felt a flash in front of him, and the belief panel appeared accordingly. Qin Fusu, position. King of Qin, cultivation. 9 levels acquired, realms divided into. Acquired, innate, master, great master. Each realm is divided into 9 levels, cultivation method. First-rate cultivation method, Black Dragon cultivation method, cultivation methods. Third-rate, second-rate, first-rate, king level, emperor level, immortal level. Also divided into upper, middle, and lower levels, faith value. 12580 Watt, only over 10,000 faith values. After reading the information on the panel, Qin Fusu was stunned. As the ruler of a country, the state of Nuoda Qin had a population of over 8 million, but only over 10,000 people recognized him. What kind of sadness is this? He had originally planned to summon the gods and Buddhas of the heavens to break the deadlock for his own use, but now it seems that it is clearly not possible. King. As time passed and Qin Fusu gave orders for a long time, Lv Wei's expression on the seat looked quite unpleasant. He was dissatisfied and said, "Time is tight, please give orders quickly. The courtiers still need to prepare and marry the 8 princesses." After speaking, he waved his hand. Suddenly, a large number of officials in the court knelt down and shouted, "Please order a marriage. Please order a marriage with the king." Bastard! Seeing this situation, Qin Fusu was burning with anger in his heart, and he couldn't even consider the issue of his faith value. He secretly thought to himself, "System, activate the Heavenly Emperor gift pack." His faith value is seriously insufficient, and he can only place his hope on the gift package of the Heavenly Emperor. Ding! The Heavenly Emperor gift package has been opened. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 1 Grandmaster's pill and 1 part of the Heavenly Emperor's divine sealing technique. Master's pill, after taking it, the host can obtain Master's 9-fold cultivation. Heavenly Emperor's divine sealing technique. Seal the divine mansion with one's own national fortune book. If the country does not perish, the gods will not perish, and those who receive the sealing will always be loyal to the practitioner. Zhong Shidan. It's too timely. Ignoring the divine sealing technique of the Heavenly Emperor, Qin Fu's eyes were all focused on the Grandmaster's pill. In the memory of the former master, the most powerful person within the state of Qin was only the master of the 5-fold cultivation. If he takes the Zhong Shidan, he will have the highest level of military power and will naturally not become a puppet king. Therefore, regaining power will no longer be a problem, and even this so-called reconciliation does not need to continue. At this moment, Qin Fusu pretended to make a cut and casually delivered the Zhong Shidan into his mouth. Gudu, as the pill entered his abdomen, Qin Fusu felt a vast force emerging in his body, and his cultivation level leaped to the level of a great master. Master Zhuchong, it's done. Feeling the powerful restlessness in his body, Qin Fusu's lips slightly raised, and this powerful feeling finally gave him the confidence to say no. The next second, Qin Fusu regained his senses and with a cold gleam in his eyes, he lowered his head to look at Lv Wei and said, "Is Lv Xiang forcing me?" For a moment, Lv Wei looked at Qin Fushu in astonishment. In his memory, Qin Fushu had never dared to refute him and was obedient to his words. How could he be like this today? I think I overthought it. After shaking his head, Lv Wei quickly shook off his inner emotions and did not believe that mere puppets could pose a threat to him. He immediately spoke up, "Your Majesty, the 8 Kingdoms Alliance is attacking, and our Qin state cannot resist it. The only solution is to send out the 8 princesses and their relatives." Okay, great. Angered and laughing back, Qin Fusu's inner anger could no longer be suppressed. Nua de Chao Tang, surprisingly, is all a group of cowardly people. What kind of court ministers are there? They are simply a group of worms. Bang! With a fierce slap on the table, Qin Fusu stood up and looked down at the civil and military officials, angrily rebuking him. You are truly the backbone of our country, Qin. You can do anything shameless for your own rights. Since the founding of the great Qin dynasty, there have been countless wars in the south and north. Even from our ancestors' wars to less than 100,000 men across the country, we have never dared to fight, nor have we made any moves to reconcile. Our men in the great Qin dynasty are proud and resolute. When do we need to sacrifice women to reconcile for peace? Not to mention that the person who made the marriage is my sister, even if it is the daughter of any commoner, I will definitely not agree to this matter. If the 8 great kingdoms dare to invade, then be prepared for defeat and death. Even if I die, I will never do such a shameful thing to my ancestors. Who dares to negotiate peace again after this? Kill without mercy. End of this chapter. 2. Chapter 2 Summoning Special Forces. Shadow Guard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Summoning Special Forces. Shadow Guard. Quiet. Dead silence. At the moment when Qin Fusu's words fell, the entire court fell silent. All the civil and military officials looked at Qin Fusu in astonishment as he was furious, with only one thought in his mind. Is this still Qin Fusu? Is this still a cowardly puppet king? At the same time, Lv Wei's face below also darkened, and his inner dissatisfaction with Qin Fusu became extremely strong. Without him, marriage was his idea. Isn't Qin Fusu's denial like this hitting his face? Yellow-mouthed children. With a furious rebuke in his heart, Lv Wei resisted the urge to get angry and turned his head to nod at a staff member behind him. The king cannot do it. Suddenly, an old man from the ranks of the civil officials walked out and said with a sorrowful expression, Your Majesty, our country of Qin has experienced turmoil, with less than 300,000 troops throughout the country. How can we resist the million-strong army of the 8 great kingdoms? Although this peace treaty may indeed sacrifice the happiness of all the princesses, it can also exchange for at least 30 years breathing space for our country of Qin. The great king must not bring the entire great Qin into the midst of water and fire for his own selfish gain. Once the coalition forces break through Tianyu Pass, our Qin country may face the disaster of annihilation. This statement immediately aroused the recognition of officials under Lv Wei's sect. The 8 Kingdoms Alliance is not a vegetarian. Once they invade the state of Qin, they will inevitably suffer and their status will disappear. At this moment, a prominent official under the command of Lv Wei, disregarding everything else, stepped out of the team and spoke up to comfort them, saying, Please prioritize the country and the country, Your Majesty. Please prioritize the 800-year foundation of the great Qin dynasty, Your Majesty. For a moment, there were constant voices of opposition within the court, and Qin Fusu's forehead was bulging with veins, causing his inner anger to boil. Is this the vassal of the great Qin? A group of cowardly and selfish individuals, how can they stand tall in the court? With a roar in his heart, Qin Fusu's eyes flashed with a murderous intent. He wouldn't continue to be a puppet king. Since these people are determined to confront him, he doesn't mind blood-washing this court. If you are disloyal to yourself, then there is no need to exist. System, summon me special units. Ding. Summoned successfully, congratulations to the host for obtaining 1,000 special units. Shadow Guard. Shadow Guard, cultivation. Congenital 7-fold. Surprisingly, it's the Shadow Guard. For a moment, Qin Fusu was overjoyed in his heart. 1,008 level Shadow Guards are enough for him to fulfill his inner thoughts. After all, the palace is his territory. At this moment, Qin Fusu coldly glanced at the civil and military officials led by Lv Wei and angrily rebuked, You're being reckless. Are you ignoring me? Someone, take down all the masters and their descendants. As soon as these words were spoken, a disapproving expression was received from the civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty. Especially those officials who walked out looked at Qin Fusu with disdain. After all, the power of the entire imperial palace's forbidden army is in the hands of Lv Wei. Although Qin Fusu is the king of Qin, he is just a puppet. Yes. Yes. Suddenly, a series of energetic sounds echoed from outside the hall. The next second, neat footsteps came from outside the hall, and a shadow guard wearing black soft armor and a long sword rushed into the court. Without any hesitation, a large number of shadow guards appeared directly next to the masters and officials, with their long swords drawn from their waists and placed around their necks. Don't move. If you dare to resist and kill without mercy. Hiss, the sound of gasping for breath echoed through the entire court, and the officials who had not yet spoken showed surprise and shock in their eyes, with only one thought in their minds. How dare he do this? Where did he come from? Where did these guys come from? Dada. At this moment, a crisp sound of footsteps shattered the silence inside the hall. A young general arrived at the center of the court, ignoring the presence of civil and military officials around him. He bowed to Qin Fusu and said, "I, Zhang Han, pay my respects to your majesty." Zhang Han. It's actually him. For a moment, Qin Fusu was overjoyed in his heart. Zhang Han, the latter is just the head of the shadow guard, and can even be considered as half a great general. Subconsciously, Qin Fusu summoned the latter's attribute panel to explore the truth. Zhang Han, position. Shadow Guard Leader. Cultivation. Grandmaster 1 level. Grandmaster Realm. Very good, very good. Qin Fusu nodded with great satisfaction, then regained his senses and waved his hand, saying, "Get up." "Thank you very much, Your Majesty." With a promise, Zhang Han immediately stood up straight, his gaze immediately fixed on Lv Wei. Upon seeing this, Qin Fusu's smile grew even stronger and he continued, "Take these people who do not respect my orders and execute them." "Yes." With a promise, Zhang Han clasped his fists and saluted, then turned around to escort the officials away with the shadow guard. At this point, the officials who were escorted finally came to their senses and understood that Qin Fusu was determined to kill himself and others. They dared to hesitate and ask for help one after another. "King, spare your life. Lv, save me. Lv, save me." For a moment, the entire court was filled with the voices of these people, while the other officials around lowered their heads not to look at them, but Yu Guang also looked at Lv Wei below the high platform. After all, these officials are all defecting under his command. If they sit idly by, then, wait a minute. Without any accidents, Lv Wei couldn't resist. The officials being escorted are all under his command. If they were really executed by Qin Fusu like this, the consequences would be unimaginable. After all, he is in power. If he can't even protect his wings, how will anyone throw themselves in the future? Unfortunately, the shadow guard ignored his call and escorted the officials out on their own. For a moment, the officials became even more panicked, and their cries for help grew louder. "Lv Xiang, help. Lv, save me. Lv Xiang. Bastard." With a stern curse in his heart, Lv Wei turned his head to look at Qin Fusu and said, "Your Majesty, please take it back and fulfill your mission. Can't you resist it?" The corner of his mouth slightly raised, and Qin Fusu raised his hand to signal the shadow guard to stop arresting people. Then he lowered his head and looked at Lv Wei, saying, "Is Lv Xiang teaching me how to do things?" This. With a twitch of his cheek, Lv Wei's anger grew even more intense. He wished he could directly beat Qin Fusu up, but when he saw the two figures sitting next to him in the corner of his eye, he quickly suppressed the thought. But these people cannot die either, otherwise his decades of hard work by Lv Wei will be destroyed in an instant. Thinking of this, Lv Wei didn't care about anything else and immediately spoke up, "Your Majesty, what's wrong with the courtiers? I, the great Qin dynasty, have always emphasized speaking freely. Do the courtiers have to be executed if they express their opinions? And the old minister believes that the words of the courtiers are not bad. Our great Qin is currently in a period of wind and rain, and the only way out for the Eight Kingdoms coalition to attack this time is to negotiate peace. Finally hooked. Upon hearing Lv Wei's words, Qin Fusu breathed a sigh of relief in his heart, with a smile even wider on his face. His gaze looked at Lv Wei as if he were looking at a dead person, and he said, "Lv Xiang, do you still want to make peace?" Upon hearing this, Lv Wei raised his eyebrows and felt even more uneasy as he looked at Qin Fushu's indifferent expression. But now that he was riding a tiger and struggling to get off, he had no choice at all. He clenched his fists even tighter in his sleeves, but without hesitation, he said, "I think it's just right. I believe that Li Xiang and the general of Zhonghua are also like this." As he spoke, he turned his head and looked at the two people sitting next to him, arching his hand in hopes of receiving their support. Including Qin Fusu, who was also eyeing him at the moment, wanting to see the two of them. Li Fei, Zhang Human, and Lv Wei are all one of the three powerful officials of the Qin state. If they also support Lv Wei, even the current Qin Fusu would have to be wary. After all, the three of them control 90% of the power of the state of Qin. Even though he is currently the top cultivator of the state of Qin, killing the three of them is easy, but one must also consider the consequences that may arise later. I won't be involved in this matter anymore. Unexpectedly, after exchanging a glance, Li Fei and Zhang Human ignored Lv Wei's advances and calmly said, "We only respect the orders of the king." "What about the king? We have no objections." "Okay." Upon hearing the answers from Li Fei and Zhang Human, Qin Fusu couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Although he couldn't understand why the two powerful officials of the Qin state would support him, he was not delaying anything at the moment. His gaze was fixed on Lv Wei and he said, "Lv Xiang, have you forgotten what I just said? Since that's the case, I'll say it again, the Lord and the Lord will kill without mercy." After speaking, Qin Fusu didn't give Lv Wei a chance to report, so he waved his hand and said, "Someone, take Lv Wei down and kill him along with this group of country worms." End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Suppressing Lv Wei and deterring his courtiers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Suppressing Lv Wei and deterring his courtiers. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire court was no less than being dropped with a depth bomb. All the officials raised their heads to look at Qin Fushu, their eyes filled with disbelief, reaching the extreme. Lv Wei. That's Prime Minister Lv Wei. The latter not only wields power over the court and the public, but also has 3,000 disciples from the innate realm under his command. How could Qin Fusu dare to do so? Yes. Yes. The shadow guards led by Zhang Han ignored the reactions of the courtiers. As soon as they received the order from Qin Fusu, 3 of them rushed out and headed straight to Lv Wei's location, with their long swords flashing with cold light, ready to take them down. Bold. The roar of anger echoed through, and a burst of crimson energy erupted. The 3 shadow guards who rushed forward let out a scream, and their long swords fell to the ground. Their bodies flew out like broken kites, hitting the court floor heavily. Although they were not dead, they were also seriously injured, and it was difficult for them to recover in a few months. "Break it for me. Get out of here." At the same time, the loud cheers within the court also echoed. An official who was escorted angrily resisted and forced the shadow guard to retreat, including Zhang Han, who was surrounded by 5 officials from the innate realm. "Fushu child, you really treat me like I dare not touch you." Lv Wei's angry voice echoed through, and he slapped the seat and stood up, glaring angrily at Qin Fushu. "Call you the king, you really don't know how high and mighty the world is," he said. "Do you really think I dare not kill you?" After speaking, Lv Wei took a step and unleashed his fierce energy, revealing his master's ultimate strength. Master Wuchong Tian. Oh my goodness, Lv Xiang is actually a master realm powerhouse. Upon seeing this scene, the courtiers in the hall couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, especially Li Fei and Zhang Human, who had remained expressionless all along beside them. Lv Xiang is going to rebel. Seeing this, Qin Fusu showed no fear at all. In terms of realm and military force, he is not inferior to Lv Wei now, who will surely die today. At this moment, Qin Fusu suddenly said coldly, according to the laws of the great Qin dynasty, rebels will be executed by 3 tribes. Have you figured it out, Lv Xiang? Fushu child, you are seeking death. Upon hearing this, Lv Wei was completely angry. Put the rebellious hat on him, and even execute the 3 tribes, this is already endless. At this moment, Lv Wei didn't care about anything else and turned his head to look at him, saying, Li Fei, Zhang Chang, you'd better not interfere, otherwise everyone will be caught dead. After speaking, he ignored both of them. Taking one step, a murderous aura surged out and locked onto Qin Fushu, his voice icy as he said, Qin Fushu, you've been making mistakes again and again, risking the lives of 8 million people of my great Qin dynasty. Today, I'll depose you. According to the Imperial edict of the late king, Qin Fusu's virtue is not enough to continue to serve as the throne. As one of the ministers in charge, I will enforce the law for the late king today. After speaking, Lv Wei jumped up, his fat and extremely light body, like a great peng spreading its wings and rushing straight towards Qin Fushu's location, with a murderous aura without hesitation. Your Majesty! Your Majesty! In this scene, the shadow guard led by Zhang Han was shocked and shouted loudly, but quickly launched an attack in an attempt to provide support. Especially Zhang Han, whose master had undergone a major renovation and burst forth, startled the attention of all officials present. Both the powerful officials Li Fei and Zhang Human also showed a surprised expression on their faces. But those officials under Lv Wei's command were not weak either. They all possessed the cultivation of the innate realm, making it difficult for the Shadow Guard to approach them in a short period of time. Zhang Han was also dragged down by those few strong innate realm warriors, making it difficult to rush to help. I can't help it anymore. Seeing this situation, Qin Fu showed no fear at all. He burst out laughing and kicked the table in front of him fiercely, attacking Lv Wei. Break it! With a low shout, Lv Wei's vigorous energy burst out and instantly destroyed the table. The next second, Lv Wei's figure appeared next to the dragon chair, without hesitation mobilizing his own master's strength to kill Qin Fusu's vital location. Good time. Upon seeing this, Qin Fusu's smile was instantly replaced by seriousness, and he let out a low moan. Grandmaster Zhicheng's power was like a volcano erupting out, and he clenched his right hand tightly and smashed it, fiercely colliding with Lv Wei's fist. With a click, Lv Wei's vigorous energy collapsed all over his body, his arms were broken inch by inch, and blood spurted out. At the same time, a scream of agony also rang out from his mouth. Ah! With a loud bang, Lv Wei's obese body was shot down from the high platform by Qin Fushu, and was fiercely smashed into the court, like a puddle of mud lying there, bleeding from his 7 orifices. Lv Xiang! How could this be possible? Seeing this scene, the officials who stopped the Shadow Guard were stunned and their movements couldn't help but pause. Lv Wei, that is a strong master with 5 levels. Looking at the state of Qin, apart from Li Fei and Zhang Human, almost no one can resist. But now, unexpectedly suppressed by Qin Fusu's punch, not only was he defeated, but he was even on the brink of death. This even Li Fei and Zhang Human, who were powerful officials, couldn't help but stand up from their seats at this moment. They didn't pay attention to the dying Lv Wei and looked at Qin Fushu with horrified eyes, causing a storm in their hearts. Kill! Kill! At this time, the Shadow Guard led by Zhang Han also sensed the negligence of those officials. How could they miss the opportunity? Drinking softly in the mouth, the long sword in his hand kept chopping out. Ah! Ah! The screams echoed through, and an official under the command of Lv Wei was killed on the spot, with limbs and arms severed all over the ground. The pungent smell of blood permeated the entire court. No, I don't believe it. At this moment, Lv Wei's weak voice echoed through the ground. He stood up with a pale face and looked at Qin Fushu with a frightened expression, saying, "Your cultivation is actually the Grandmaster Jichangshan. How could this be? There's nothing impossible. Lv Wei, you lost." With a flick of his sleeve, a strong energy, under the control of Qin Fushu, directly bombarded Lv Wei's dantian. With a click, Lv Wei's dantian shattered and his cultivation dissipated at this moment. His chubby body trembled, and his screams of agony rang out again. Ah! The next second, Lv Wei's eyes turned white and he fell to the ground. Although he had not yet died, he had no chance of turning over. At the same time, the massacre at the entrance came to an end, and all officials led by Lv Wei died under the sword of the Shadow Guard, with corpses piled up like mountains. At this point, the court fell silent, so the living officials all lowered their heads and dared not look directly at Qin Fushu at the moment. Very good. Seeing this scene, Qin Fushu breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. One of the three powerful officials of the state of Qin was removed by himself. Although only one, it is still enough to intimidate the court. With the power of their own master Jiuchong, these civil and military officials will not dare to give him any arbitrary guidance in the future. He also completely shed his title as a puppet king. At this moment, Qin Fushu's aura spread outwards and he waved his hand, saying, "Prime Minister Lv Wei's rebellion has now been suppressed by me. Remove the position of Prime Minister Lv Wei, and the Lv family will execute the three clans. From now on, I don't want anyone to speak like Lv Wei when I hear the word marriage. New book seeking recommendation ticket. End of this chapter. 4. Chapter 4. The right of the Imperial expedition to retreat soldiers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. The Imperial expedition intends to retreat soldiers under the pressure of the master. All officials couldn't help but shudder. Lv Wei fell and was executed by the three tribes. Qin Fushu's move completely removed the hat of his own puppet king, and one of the three powerful ministers, Lv Wei, fell. So next subconsciously, many officials turned their gaze to Li Fei and Zhang Human sitting on chairs under the high platform. Unlike Lv Wei, who stood out with 3,000 followers, these two individuals were the head of the civil service and the head of the military, holding the political and military power of the Qin state. Will Qin Fushu let them go? Great Wang Yingming. Great Wang Yingming. In this situation, Li Fei and Zhang Human dared not stand up from their seats and quickly bowed to Qin Fushu, as if acknowledging his decision. Upon seeing this, the officials in the court dared not neglect and bowed one after another, saying, "Your Majesty. Lv Weimo should be executed for his crimes, Wang Yingming." It's done. Seeing this, Qin Fushu breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. The effect of killing chickens and warning monkeys has been achieved, and now he should deal with the affairs of the Eight Kingdoms alliance. As for Li Fei and Zhang Human, who were both powerful officials, they looked indifferent in the previous situation, and Qin Fushu couldn't find any excuse to make a fuss, so he had to stop here for now. Upon reaching this point, Qin Fushu waved his hand and said, "Someone, take Lv Wei to the heavenly prison, and 3 days later, at 3:15 p.m., interrogate and behead the Vermilion Bird Gate. Shadow Secret Guard, I order you to go out of the palace and arrest all the people of Lv Wei and his family. I don't want any fish to escape the net." Yes. With a promise, Zhang Han quickly stepped forward and took away the unconscious Lv Wei. Subsequently, the Shadow Guard quickly withdrew from the court, but the body and pungent smell of blood still existed in that area. However, Qin Fushu didn't pay much attention to these things. He threw his sleeves and sat down on the dragon chair, towering down. At this moment, the good court is also flowing with blood, which is really a bit dirty and unbearable. All the beloved ministers will follow me to the Afang Palace to continue discussing the attack of the coalition army of the Great Kingdom. After speaking, Qin Fusu didn't linger any longer. With a flick of his sleeve, he walked towards the outside world. Seeing this situation, the civil and military officials in the court dared not neglect and followed closely behind. Inside Afang Palace, Qin Fusu sat high on the top of the dragon collapse and glanced at the civil and military officials led by Li Fei and Zhang Chang, his eyes shining brightly. Do you all have any strategies to deal with the alliance of the 8 great kingdoms? As soon as these words were spoken, the whole room fell silent. Originally, they all tacitly agreed to the act of marriage, but with Qin Fusu's strong suppression of the Lv Wei clan, how can they talk about marriage again this time? Qin Fusu's previous words were still resounding, and the courtiers no longer doubted the latter's firmness and ruthlessness. Besides that, the only option is to fight against the 8 kingdoms alliance. But with only 300,000 troops in the Great Qin dynasty, how can we compete with a 1,000,000-strong coalition? King. Suddenly, Zhang Human spoke up and broke the silence inside the hall. He took a step out and threw himself to the ground with a loud voice, saying, I am willing to lead 300,000 Qin state iron cavalry to the west to Tianyu Pass and fight against 1,000,000 allied forces. As the king said, the men of Qin never fear war. Since the 8 kingdoms coalition army has come to provoke us, we should also retaliate with a thunderous force. However, suddenly, Zhang Human paused and stopped speaking. Playing riddles with me. With a raised eyebrow, Qin Fusu glanced at Zhang Human and said, General Zhenghua, speak up. Not only Qin Fusu, but also the officials in the court were curious to look at Zhang Human, puzzled by what he wanted to do. King Ming. With a calm smile, Zhang Jian seemed to have a clear understanding of everything and clasped his fists again, saying, but if you want to mobilize our national forces, you also need the Black Dragon Talisman. I was once appreciated and given half of the Black Dragon Talisman by the late king. Please grant the other half of the Black Dragon Talisman to me, and I will definitely lead the Qin dynasty's iron cavalry to fight against the 8 kingdoms alliance to the death. Black Dragon Talisman. With a gleam in his eyes, Qin Fusu lowered his head and looked at Zhang Human, saying, General, this black dragon meets the criteria of 2-in-1 to mobilize the entire country's troops. Yes. Nodding his head, Zhang Human said solemnly, for the sake of the people of Qin and the 800-year foundation of Qin, please grant me a talisman. As soon as these words were spoken, the generals in the palace woke up from a dream and bowed one after another, saying, Please grant me a talisman, Your Majesty. Please grant the talisman to Your Majesty. Silence. With a cold snort, Qin Fusu waved his hand to stop the call of the general group and looked down at Zhang Chang, saying, Since that's the case, please give me half of the Black Dragon Talisman in your hand, General. I want to personally lead the expedition and require soldiers from all over the country to follow me. If the general can offer the Black Dragon Talisman, then I will be very relieved. What? Imperial expedition. As the pupils contracted, all the court officials were shocked. Including Zhang Human, he was no exception. He had planned to take this opportunity to obtain the complete Black Dragon Talisman and control all the military power of Qin, but he didn't expect Qin Fusu to come up with a move to retaliate against him. The problem now is not whether he can obtain the other half of the Black Dragon Talisman, or even if he can't hold on to half of the Black Dragon Talisman in his own hands. King. Subconsciously, Zhang Human wanted to speak up and refute. Your Majesty is wise. However, at this moment, a low shout was heard first. Following the sound, Li Fei walked up to Zhang Human and bowed in the bowing room with a smile on his face, looking very happy. As his words fell, the civil servants in the palace also reacted and stood out in salute. Your Majesty is wise. Our country of Qin is in the midst of life and death. Only with His Majesty's personal expedition can we arouse the enthusiasm and morale of the people of the whole country. Only in this way can we fight against the Eight Kingdoms coalition army. For a moment, the call of civil servants echoed through the Afang Palace, while the faces of the generals suddenly changed. Once Zhang Human hands over the Black Dragon Talisman, although he is the Grand General of Xinhua and the minister appointed by the former king, he will also lose control of military power. At that time similarly, Zhang Human also understood that facing himself in such a situation was not favorable, but when he thought of Qin Fusu's cultivation in the 9th level, he dared not disobey, and his whole person fell into a dilemma. Qin Fusu was not in a hurry about this and patiently waited while sitting on top of the dragon collapse. Although he killed Lv Wei, Zhang Human still holds military power, and he is not good at forcing anything. What's going on? The general is reluctant. Unexpectedly, Prime Minister Li Fei once again raised a question. Does it mean that the survival and downfall of our Qin army don't even care? Li Fei, you. Zhang Human was furious and turned his head to glare at Li Fei, saying, as a person of the state of Qin, how can I ignore the survival of the state of Qin? However, your Majesty has never been in charge of the army, so hastily taking the Imperial expedition may have a counterproductive effect. In case. Before Zhang Human could finish explaining, Li Fei raised his head and said coldly, General, this statement is a lack of trust in your Majesty. Opening his mouth, Zhang Chang was momentarily speechless and didn't know how to answer. Qin Fusu on the collapse of the dragon also showed a puzzled expression. Prime Minister Li Fei's abnormal help in seizing military power greatly exceeded his expectations. What is he doing all this for? What is the picture? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The Reform of the Soviet Union. Military Merit and Rank System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The Reform of the Soviet Union. Military Merit and Rank System. The general has nothing to say. Li Fei asked again, I think the king has reached adulthood and it's time to take over military and political power. As he spoke, Li Fei knelt down under the astonished gaze of the civil and military officials, and looked at Qin Fusu, saying, Li Fei, am grateful to the late king for valuing the management of the Shangshu pavilion. Today, I am willing to step down from my position as Shangshu Ling and return to politics with your Majesty. I kindly request your Majesty's permission. Hand over the Shangshu pavilion. Retired Minister of Personnel. What is this situation? With a cry of surprise, the entire court officials were stunned by Li Fei's move, including Qin Fusu. The Shangshu Pavilion was an institution established by the late kings to review internal and external affairs of the court. Li Fei became the leader of civil officials because of its existence. But now, Li Fei actually gave up. What the hell is going on? Before Qin Fusu and others could react, Zhang Human suddenly knelt down and took out a black dragon talisman from his arms, lifting it above his head and shouting, Zhang Human, am willing to step down from my position as the Grand General of Xinhua and return my military power. I hope your Majesty can grant me your permission. What's going on? Why did Zhang Human suddenly do this too? This scene completely stunned Qin Fusu and the civil and military officials. Li Fei's behavior is thought-provoking, and Zhang Human, who was originally extremely resistant, suddenly gave up everything. This matter is not right no matter how you look at it. The strategy of advancing is to retreat. Suddenly, Qin Fusu's mind lit up with a flash of inspiration and he understood why Li Fei and Zhang Human were doing this. It is obvious that the two of them do not have much confidence in Qin Fusu, but the latter first revealed the existence of the Shadow Guard, and then revealed the power of the Grand Master Zhechong. In this situation, they are unable to confront Qin Fusu head-on. But Li Fei deserved to be a powerful minister. He immediately thought of a way to advance by retreating, handing over all his power to prevent Qin Fusu from finding fault and forcibly suppressing him like suppressing Lv Wei. However, Qin Fusu has been a puppet king for the past 3 years and has little experience in handling political affairs. Once the matter is handled incorrectly, Li Fei can naturally lead the Shangshu pavilion again. At that time, Qin Fusu was also helpless towards him, and even similarly, after initial shock, Zhang Human also understood Li Fei's plan and chose to hand over power together. In his view, although Qin Fusu's cultivation was unparalleled in the Qin state, there was no precedent for him to lead troops in battle. Once he failed under the attack of the Eight-Nation Alliance, it was ultimately him who stood up, and his position could even take this opportunity to further advance. Okay. What a great abacus. After understanding the thoughts of Li Fei and the others, Qin Fusu's eyes flickered with a cold light and he sneered inwardly, "Unfortunately, you are destined to have nothing to do with the bamboo basket and water. Want to see me make a fool of myself? But you forget, if I succeed, you will completely fall to the bottom." At this moment, Qin Fusu stood up from his seat and waved his hand. "Okay, since the Prime Minister and the General value me so much, I naturally won't let the two adults down." As he spoke, Qin Fusu waved his hand and took the half-black dragon talisman from Zhang Human's hand. Pop. Qin Fusu frowned slightly as he grabbed half of the black dragon talisman. In memory, the other half of the black dragon talisman was not in his possession, but in the hands of the Empress Dowager. He wanted to convert the black dragon into a black dragon weapon talisman but also had to obtain the other half. However, Qin Fusu didn't think much about anything else at this moment. After casually putting away the half-empty black dragon talisman and not giving the courtiers time to reflect, he immediately spoke up and said, "From now on, Prime Minister Li Fei will step down from his position as Minister of Personnel and be conferred the title of Quasi-Anho. Starting from today, Zhang Human will step down from his position as the Grand General of the Xinhua Army and be conferred the title of Guhou, until now." As soon as these words were spoken, the courtiers were in an uproar. They knew that the big deal had been decided, and the rights of Li Fei and Zhang Human had been taken back by Qin Fusu. If it were in the past, they would definitely have stood up against it, but this matter was led by Li Fei and Zhang Human, and they could not oppose it anymore. "Thank you very much, Your Majesty. Thank you very much, Your Majesty." At this moment, Li Fei and Zhang Human had already bowed and taken orders, their expressions indifferent, as if everything was under their control. "Get up." With a wave of his hand, Qin Fusu smiled and looked at Li Fei and the others. Knowing their plan, how could he be turning over the two of them? At this point, the overall situation has been determined. After a brief moment of shock, the court officials also bowed, saying, "See you soon. Farewell to Zhiga Ho." Upon hearing this, Li Fei and Zhang Human stood up and glanced at each other, both laughing at each other. Immediately after, they walked down from the high platform, one standing at the forefront of the civil servant and the other at the forefront of the generals. "King." At this moment, a general walked out of the team and bowed, saying, "Your Majesty, the battle at Tianyu Pass is imminent. Please make a decision as soon as possible." This statement immediately aroused recognition from the civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty. Since the main battle is not possible, then there will only be one battle. At this moment, the courtiers also spoke up one after another, "Please make a decision early, King. Please make a decisive decision, King." Upon hearing this, Qin Fusu also showed great respect. Regardless of the thoughts of Li Fei and Zhang Jian, at least this matter cannot be delayed. "I have made a decision." After taking a deep breath, Qin Fusu stood up from his seat and said, "Since the Prime Minister and the Marquis of Zhunan have appointed me as the ruler of the country, I will announce it directly today. I have decided to implement a military merit system nationwide from today on. The titles are divided into 20 classes. Gongshi, Shangzhou, Zanyao, Bugeng, Dafu, Guanfu, Gongfu, Gongcheng, Wufu, Left Shuchang, Right Shuchang, Left Gung, Zhonggang, Right Gung, Shaoyang Zhao, Daliang Zhao, Sis Shuchang, Deshuchchang, Guanihu, Cheho. Kill 1 person as a nobleman, kill 10 people as Shangzhou, kill 100 people as Zhang. All the people of our great Qin dynasty can enlist and join the army, make achievements, and be granted the title of Marquis Pizu. We can supervise each other's killing numbers and use the enemy's left ear as evidence without anyone verifying it. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire court was boiling at this moment. Especially those generals, their gaze towards Qin Fusu was scorching to the extreme at this moment. Military merit system. These simple 4 words show them infinite hope. Marquis. That's a marquis. How many ministers in their lifetime can only aspire to be granted the title of marquis or prime minister, but there are very few who can succeed. But now the emergence of the military merit system has given them hope that as long as they kill enough enemies, they can be granted marquises. Your Majesty, it is holy and wise. Your Majesty, it is holy and wise. At this moment, except for a few generals such as Zhang, all other officials of the general group knelt down on the ground. The opportunity to confer the title of Marquis and pay homage has arrived, how could they not seize it? At this moment, Zhang, the former Grand General of Xinhua, has dissipated from the hearts of the vast majority of people. The future that Qin Fusu has given them is bright. Okay, great. Seeing this situation, Qin Fusu was overjoyed. More than 80% of the generals surrendered, and Zhang threat was considered self-defeating. Immediately, Qin Fusu stopped talking nonsense and waved his hand. The Shangshu pavilion immediately drafted an edict to declare the general's meritorious title system to the whole country. At the same time, let the 9 commanderies issue a conscription order, allowing anyone who is over 16 years old and not the only child in their family to apply to join the army. 7 days later, I will personally lead the expedition to Tianyu Pass and engage in a decisive battle with the 8 Great Kingdoms coalition army. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Second Summoning, Counselor Zhang Liang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Second Summoning, Counselor Zhang Liang. Yes. Yes. It should be a resounding sound, and the civil and military officials of the entire court dare not neglect it. Even though the civil service groups led by Lv Wei have some reservations about the military merit system, they dare not oppose it. The generals in the court are already going crazy with excitement. Whoever dares to oppose at this time is afraid that without Qin Fusu's words, those generals will strip him alive. Qin Fusu saw this scene and nodded in satisfaction before sitting down and saying, "Do you, my dear ministers, have anything else to declare?" As soon as these words were spoken, the Chinese military officials looked at each other face to face, and some officials began to report, "Your Majesty, since we are going to war, the army's provisions must be gathered as soon as possible." Well, order the 9 county governors to gather provisions and prepare for a big battle. King, the common people have some criticisms towards the king. Please make a decision on how to deal with him. I know now, this matter itself was caused by the disciples under Lv Wei's command. I will issue an imperial edict to explain it to the people of the world. King. Quickly, 2 hours had passed, and Bai Guan and Qin Fusu finished with a series of questions and answers. During these 2 hours, Qin Fusu's decisiveness and courage impressed many civil and military officials, among which Lv Wei and Zhang Han's expressions were difficult to see to the extreme. They had originally planned to stand up when Qin Fusu mishandled, but judging from the current situation, it really went against their expectations. After leaving the court, Qin Fusu dragged himself exhausted and returned to his own palace. After hastily eating something, he lay down in bed to rest. At the same time, the decree on the military merit system was quickly released by the Shangshu pavilion. For a moment, Xianyang was boiling. Military merit and nobility system, killing enemies can lead to the title of Marquis. 20 class titles, kill 1 person to get 1. Don't stop me, I want to join the army, I want to be granted the title of Marquis Pizu. I can enlist at the age of 16, that's great. I only turned 16 yesterday. And the same scene constantly emerged in various areas of Xianyang City, with people wanting to join the army and be granted the title of Marquis and Ancestor. Especially when it was announced that all the tyranny of the Qin state over the past 3 years had been carried out by the people led by Lv Wei, and all the tyranny announced by Lv Wei would be abolished in the future, this immediately made the people of Xianyang even more joyful. The people don't care who is in power, they only care about who can make their lives better. It is obvious that Qin Fusu was the first to use the military merit system to show the hope of being granted the title of Marquis Pizu to countless young men, and to abolish the tyranny established during the reign of Lv Wei was even more inspiring to the people. For a moment, praise for Qin Fusu echoed throughout various areas of Xianyang City. Your Majesty is wise. Eliminating evil, Your Majesty is mighty, and the good days of our Qin state have come. Finally, it's time for this day. Your Majesty is in power, and our country of Qin has finally welcomed a king who benefits the people. Qin Fusu was unaware of all of this. In the evening, he woke up leisurely and looked around with a complex expression, saying, all of this is true. I have truly traveled and become the ruler of a country. Speaking, Qin Fusu sat up from the bed and rubbed his temples, saying, I'm too tired. This emperor is really hard to be. I must summon civil servants to assist, otherwise I'm afraid I'll be exhausted if I don't wait for the expedition. The coordination and handling of military and political affairs throughout the country made Qin Fusu somewhat overwhelmed. But now that Li Fei and Zhang Human are still watching closely, he also has to muster up a strong spirit to do it himself. Open personal panel, Qin Fusu, position. King of Qin, cultivation. Grandmaster Jiuchong, practice. Black Dragon technique, faith value. 120,200 120,000 faith values. With his pupils contracting, Qin Fusu stood up in surprise and exclaimed excitedly, I have only declared military merit and nobility in a short period of time, and surprisingly, I have a belief value of 180,000. Very good. With faith value, I can summon civil servants to help me deal with court affairs. Upon reaching this point, Qin Fusu immediately spoke up and said, System, summon me a civil servant. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Wen Chen. Zhang Liang. Zhang Liang, cultivation. Grandmaster's 5 elements, Zhang Liang. Surprisingly, it's him. With the corners of his mouth raised, Qin Fusu was overjoyed. Zhang Liang. That was one of the most famous advisors in past life history. With the help of this person, I will definitely be able to alleviate many things within the court in the future. The most crucial thing is that Zhang Liangxiu, in order to achieve the 5th level of his master, was already able to compete with Zhang Human and Li Fei. Even if he personally left Xianyang City in the future, his presence was enough to stabilize the rear. What kind of person? Suddenly, there was a loud shout outside the door. The next second, a sound of blade collision came along. What happened? With a frown, Qin Fusu asked. At this moment, a shadow guard appeared next to Qin Fusu and bowed, saying, Your Majesty, there are thieves breaking in. Commander Zhang Han is currently fighting against them. Thieves breaking in. Is it with a flash of inspiration in his mind, Qin Fusu didn't care about anything else and quickly walked towards the door. As he walked out of the gate, he saw Zhang Han fighting a man who was 1.78 meters tall and wearing a white Confucian robe in the courtyard. Between you and me, the master's spirit collided constantly, and his power was very strong. However, it is obvious that Zhang Han is not a match for that person. He has been feeling a bit breathless in a short period of time, but on the other hand, the person has been down to earth this time, with no wrinkles even on the corners of his clothes. Stop it. Seeing this situation, Qin Fusu immediately spoke up to stop. If the guess is correct, the person who came should be Zhang Liang, and he cannot let the two continue to fight. Your Majesty. Seeing Qin Fushu appear, Zhang Han made a gesture in his hand and stopped attacking. He quickly approached him and said, I am guilty and cannot take down the palace raider. Get up. With a wave of his hand, Qin Fushu had no intention of blaming Zhang Han, and his gaze focused on the man. Why did you break into my palace? Upon hearing this, Liang smiled calmly and casually placed his long sword in the scabbard before taking a step towards Qin Fushu. Be on guard. Seeing this situation, Zhang Han immediately drank low. The next second, a Minjing secret guard appeared around the courtyard, his gaze fixed on Liang. With just one command, he would definitely go all out. Qin Fushu did not stop this, and Liang did not have the consciousness to stop. As he approached Qin Fushu, Liang's footsteps stopped quietly before kneeling on one knee and saying, I, Liang, pay my respects to your majesty. Sure enough, it's him. The corners of his mouth curved upwards, and Qin Fushu breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. He had guessed before, but he didn't expect Liang to come so quickly. Thinking of this, Qin Fushu immediately went up and helped Liang up, then spoke up, Zifang, you have finally arrived. You really make me wait so much. Dada, suddenly, a sound of footsteps came from outside the courtyard. Immediately afterwards, a eunuch hurried into the courtyard and saluted Qin Fushu, Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager invites you to Xining Palace for a talk. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Black Dragon Talisman Lost. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Black Dragon Talisman Lost Empress Dowager. Xiao Zairu. With a raised eyebrow, Qin Fushu's eyes lit up quietly. Although he received Zhang Chang's half-empty Black Dragon Talisman, there was still half in the hands of the Empress Dowager. Now that the Empress Dowager has allowed him to pass, is it also for this matter? I know now. After regaining his senses, Qin Fushu waved his hand at the eunuch and then turned his head to look at Liang. Dao, Zifang, please go and rest first. I will go and pay my respects to the Empress Dowager first. Zhang Han, you have someone take the children's room and wander around the palace first. Yes. Yes. Bowing down, Liang and Zhang Han dare not neglect. After looking at each other, the two of them took steps towards the outside of the courtyard. After the two of them left, Qin Fushu's gaze turned to the eunuch, lead the way. Yes. With a promise, the eunuch immediately turned around to lead the way. Seeing this, Qin Fushu didn't ask the eunuchs to prepare anything, so he followed suit alone. Xining Palace. As Qin Fushu arrived, there were bursts of shouting and reprimanding voices among them. Find it. If you can't find it, all of you will have to be executed. What's going on? With a pause in his footsteps, Qin Fushu frowned slightly. In his memory, Xiao Xining was the Empress Dowager and was extremely dignified on weekdays. How could he be so angry today? At this moment, a maid walked out of the Xining Palace and bowed, saying, Your Majesty, the Empress Dowager is here. I know now. Nodding, Qin Fushu suppressed his inner doubts and took a step into the Xining Palace. Looking around, the entire Xining Palace was in chaos at this moment, with numerous eunuchs and palace maids rummaging through boxes and cabinets, seemingly searching for something. Your Majesty, you have finally arrived. A soft voice echoed through, accompanied by a fragrant breeze, and the Empress Dowager, dressed in a thin long dress, came to Qin Fushu's side. Her expression was not very attractive, and she was clearly a bit panicked. Farewell to the Empress Dowager. After bowing and bowing, Qin Fushu took 2 steps back and immediately asked, What did the Empress Dowager lose? Upon hearing this, Xiao Xining's face darkened slightly and she spoke, Your Majesty, that half of the Black Dragon Talisman is missing. What? The Black Dragon Talisman is missing. As his pupils contracted, Qin Fushu's face turned completely ugly. The Black Dragon Talisman's function is self-evident. With the attack of the Eight Kingdoms alliance, he finally managed to get the other half from Zhang Human, but now the half in Xiao Zining's hand is missing. If he cannot produce the complete Black Dragon Talisman on the day of his expedition 7 days later, he is afraid that it will be a problem to deploy the entire country's troops then. Is it a coincidence? Someone still deliberately did it. With a sharp gleam in his eyes, Qin Fusu looked at Xiao Zining and said, Empress Dowager, when did this Black Dragon Talisman disappear? This. Startled by Qin Fusu's gaze, Xiao Zining's eyes flickered with a hint of panic, but she quickly calmed down and spoke, Your Majesty, I have been carrying the Black Dragon Talisman with me all along. But when I was taking a shower before, I realized that the Black Dragon Talisman had disappeared, so I sent people inside the palace to search for it. I see. There was a hint of confusion in his eyes, and Qin Fusu could understand why Xiao Zining was dressed so poorly. He was probably panicked when he noticed that the Black Dragon Talisman was missing. But if Xiao Zining carried it with him, where did the Black Dragon Talisman go? The Zining Palace is so big. If so many palace maids and eunuchs were there to rummage through boxes and cabinets, they might have found them long ago. Empress Dowager, when was the last time you saw that Black Dragon Talisman? Qin Fusu suppressed his inner emotions and asked again. This morning. After pondering for a moment, Xiao Zining spoke up and replied, In the early morning, I was still bathing at home. Still in the morning. It's gone now. It seems that someone must have intentionally done it. With a flash of light in his eyes, Qin Fusu immediately understood that this matter was aimed at him, and it was highly likely that it was the hands of Zhang Chang, a member of Li Fei's family. After all, in the early days of the dynasty, he suppressed Lv Wei and it was a foregone conclusion to retrieve the half-sky Black Dragon Talisman. In addition, the promulgation of his military merit system led to a large number of generals surrendering to him. To prevent him from continuing to hold power, Zhang Human and Li Fei had to seize half of the Black Dragon Talisman from the Empress Dowager's hands. If nothing unexpected happens, if you cannot find it by the time you arrive in the 7-day period, then if you cannot bring out the real Black Dragon Talisman, Zhang Jian and Li Fei, you will definitely face a challenge. After understanding, Qin Fusu couldn't help but let out a heavy breath. Immediately after, his gaze turned to Xiao Zining, who was still looking flustered, and he said, Empress Dowager, have you been to any other place besides Zining Palace today? No. Shaking her head, Xiao Zining answered, In the past, the AI family would wander around in the harem, but today the AI family has been in the Zining Palace. Because a granddaughter in the AI family is over 16 years old and today is her birthday, the AI family had her and her 2 brothers come for a meal. She just left the Zining Palace and the AI family after having lunch at noon. At this point, Xiao Zining hesitated in her words. She's not stupid, otherwise she wouldn't have become the former queen, let alone the current Empress Dowager. Unable to find the Black Dragon Talisman in the palace, the only suspicious ones are probably those 3 descendants of the Xiao family. Empress Dowager. With a darkened expression, Qin Fusu spoke up and asked, Can you tell me who the 3 people in your palace are? The disappearance of the Black Dragon Talisman cannot be underestimated. I have already retrieved the half-empty Black Dragon Talisman from Zhang Human's hand. If this half is stolen, the consequences will be unimaginable. Upon hearing this, Xiao Zining immediately panicked. She knew about Qin Fusu's suppression of Lv Wei and the others in the morning. The cruelty it revealed is even more understood by everyone. If this matter is really related to those 3 descendants of the Xiao family, then, Your Majesty. Without considering anything else, Xiao Zining immediately bowed and said, Maybe the 3 of them are playful. Please don't even offend the Xiao family. Empress Dowager, please rise up. Seeing this, Qin Fusu had to give the latter face. In my memory, although Xiao Zining made some mistakes, he always protected Qin Fusu from beginning to end. Thinking of this, Qin Fusu immediately spoke up and said, If they take it, I can retrieve it. But if they take it but don't return it, then I can't pretend not to know. Please ask the Empress Dowager to quickly reveal the names of the 3 people. Time is running out, and I'm afraid that someone will find them first. Their lives and deaths will be hard to say then. Since this matter is likely led by Zhang Human or Lv Wei behind the scenes. Those 3 members of the Xiao family will definitely be exposed, and it is reasonable to kill and silence them in order to block the news. Upon hearing this, Xiao Zining became even more anxious and quickly spoke up. The 3 descendants who came to the AI family's dormitory are called Xiao Zhan, Xiao Kuang, and Xiao Yuyan. Please take the Xiao family lightly, Your Majesty. I know now. After nodding, Qin Fusu didn't directly agree to anything. He bowed to Xiao Zining and said, Empress Dowager, I will bid farewell first. After speaking, he didn't wait for Xiao Zining to answer before turning around and leaving the Zining palace. After leaving the Zining palace, Qin Fusu immediately spoke up, Zhang Han. I'm here. After bowing, Zhang Han asked, May I know what Your Majesty has to say? Upon hearing this, Qin Fusu stopped talking nonsense and waved his hand, saying, You immediately lead someone to surround the Xiao family. Block the Zining palace, no one is allowed to enter or exit, violators will be killed without mercy. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Night at Xiao Mansion, Confusion and Confusion. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 9. The remaining sins of Lv Wei, throughout the Ming and Qing dynasties. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 9. The remaining sins of Lv Wei, throughout the Ming and Qing dynasties, you know. With a raised eyebrow, Qin Fushu's eyes showed a hint of surprise. Looking up and down at the woman, she then spoke up and said, Are you Xiao Yuyan? Yes. Nodding her head, Xiao Yuyan said with a complex expression, To be honest with Your Majesty, I, the female teacher, have a good understanding of poisons from the Tang sect. Today in the Empress Dowager's palace, I felt someone release a smoke. Although I fought against that person, I was not their match. In the end, the person fled and I was seriously injured. Speaking, Xiao Yuyan gritted her teeth and fiercely lifted her skirt to expose her right leg. I saw 3 claw marks on those fair long legs, flesh and blood turning purple, looking extremely ominous. Yenner. Little sister. Seeing this situation, Xiao Boran and his son were shocked and didn't care about Qin Fusu's existence. They quickly spoke up, What's going on? How could you get hurt? Damn it, who is that? It's so vicious. Your Majesty. At this moment, a shadow guard appeared in the courtyard and said, We've found out, but there's something wrong with the bounty. It's just that it's difficult to identify who the person offering the reward is. Got it. With a wave of his hand, Qin Fusu couldn't help but sigh in his heart. He knew that this matter was complicated, and from the current situation, the Xiao family was the scapegoat implicated. Xiao Yuyan. With his mouth open, Qin Fusu spoke up and asked, Who was the person who hurt you? Who dares to steal my belongings? As soon as these words were spoken, Xiao Boran and his son fell silent. Although they were worried about Xiao Yuyan, they dared not speak. Your Majesty. On the contrary, Xiao Yuyan was not afraid of Qin Fushu and her gaze was quite stubborn, saying, Please forgive my father and brother, Your Majesty. You're threatening me. With a raised eyebrow, Qin Fushu's face remained expressionless, but the chill made Xiao Boran and his son tremble uncontrollably. However, Xiao Yuyan gritted her teeth and persisted without showing any signs of fear. Instead, she spoke up, Your Majesty, that matter is of great importance. In 7 days, Your Majesty will set out to conquer Tianyu Pass. If you cannot retrieve it, the consequences will be unimaginable. Interesting. This woman is really extraordinary. With a thoughtful glance at Xiao Yuyan, Qin Fusu said, Okay, I promise you. However, until this matter is clarified, the Xiao mansion must be sealed off and no one is allowed to enter or exit at will. Upon hearing this, both Xiao Boren and Xiao Yuyan breathed a sigh of relief and quickly bowed and "Thank you very much, Your Majesty. Thank you very much, Your Majesty. Get up." After waving his hand, Qin Fusu didn't pay attention to Xiao Boren and his son, and his gaze focused on Xiao Yuyan. "I hope you can give me a reasonable explanation. If you dare to deceive me, the Xiao family will be wiped out." "Hush." As soon as these words were spoken, Xiao Boren and his son couldn't help but take a cold breath. "Kill the door. This is really a disaster of extermination." At this moment, Xiao Boren wished to kill Xiao Kuang and Xiao Zhan. Black Dragon Talisman. That's a Black Dragon Talisman. You actually stole for 1 million gold, even if it didn't succeed, but you put the entire Xiao family on the edge of the sword. Your Majesty, rest assured. Xiao Yuyan was not afraid, but took out a dagger from her arms and, under the stunned gaze of Qin Fusu and others, cut off the rotten flesh and blood on her thigh. With a muffled snort, Xiao Yuyan's delicate body trembled for a moment, but she did not show any weakness and slowly picked up the piece of flesh. "Your Majesty, please take a look. The toxin inside this flesh and blood is the venom of the Wanlinbi snake. This Wanlinbi snake venom comes from the Wan poison sect, and the person I deal with is also using the martial arts of the Wan poison sect. Wanlin by snake venom. Wandu men." His eyebrows furrowed, and Qin Fushu's face turned ugly. Although he controlled the palace, he was also unaware of things outside the court, and such shortcomings were exposed at this moment, making him feel uneasy. Open the personal panel. Qin Fusu, cultivation. Grandmaster Zhechong, practice. Black Dragon technique, faith value 52922. More than 30,000 faith values have increased. With a gleam in his eyes, Qin Fushu raised the corner of his mouth and said directly, "System, summon me 5 special units." Ding. Successfully summoned 1,000 innate realm, golden fire cavalry, ding. Successfully summoned 1,000 innate realm, trap killer, ding. Successfully summoned 1,000 innate realm, shadow guard, ding. Successfully summoned 1,000 innate realm, trap killer, ding. Successfully summoned the heavenly realm of 10,000 later, genie guard, golden fire cavalry. Trap killer. Royal guards. With a flash of bright light in his eyes, Qin Fusu felt great joy in his heart. The existence of the golden fire cavalry can help him quickly stand firm in the army, and if Meng Tian can be summoned in the future, it can completely control military power. The trap killer is a presence that combines intelligence, assassination, and destruction. Although it is only 2,000, it is still enough for him to monitor Xianyang City. The most important thing is the royal guards. Although it is just the cultivation of the acquired world, it cannot support its large number of people. With the existence of this part, it can give him countless eyeliner in the folk. Enough. Nodding in satisfaction, Qin Fusu looked at Xiao Yuyan and said, "Do you have any knowledge about the 10,000 poison sect?" Have nodding her head, Xiao Yuyan dared not slack off and said, "The Qin kingdom of the 10,000 poison sect is a big sect, but it has also been suppressed by our Tang sect and reduced to second rate. The current head of the 10,000 poison sect is loyal to Lv Wei's command, but Lv Wei has already been imprisoned by His Majesty, so." Speaking of the end, Xiao Yuyan didn't continue, but the meaning was self-evident. Lv Wei, the remaining sin. With a flash of murderous intent in his eyes, Qin Fusu suddenly understood the purpose behind this series of actions. "I'm afraid that the disciples under Lv Wei's command have started to counterattack, attempting to use the Black Dragon Talisman to blackmail themselves." Zhang Han. Turning his head, Qin Fusu said displeased, "Can the Shadow Guard take down all of Lv Wei's doorstep?" "Your Majesty, make amends." Kneeling on one knee, Zhang Han didn't know the meaning of Qin Fushu's words and quickly spoke up, the entire Xianyang city's Lv Wei disciples have indeed been captured by the Shadow Guard, but there are only 328 people. Bastard! With a flash of anger in his eyes, Qin Fusu's face suddenly turned ugly. Lv Wei has 3,000 followers, all of whom are from the innate realm. Besides that, I'm afraid there may be more loyal beings who are loyal to him. Although I apprehended Lv Wei and even planned to lure out all his followers, it now seems that even if Lv Wei falls, there are still wise individuals among his followers commanding. At this moment, Qin Fusu suddenly spoke up and said, I am giving you 1,000 innate realm shadow guards. Please keep an eye on the entire Xianyang city for me. No matter what happens to Lv Wei's remaining sins in the future, I must know. Encounter Lv Wei's remaining sins captured, rebels killed without mercy. Yes, Your Majesty. With a promise, Zhang Han breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. The combat power of the Shadow Guard is self-evident, but the number of people is indeed small. Now Qin Fusu has given him another 1,000 horses, which is much simpler. But at this moment, Xiao Boran and his son, among others, were deeply shaken in their hearts. Another 1,000 innate realm shadow guards, how many hidden troops does Your Majesty have? Why are there so many powerful beings in the innate realm, and all of them are under their command? End of this chapter. 10, Chapter 10. The Emperor's Night Robbery of the Shangshu Girl. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. The Emperor's Night Robbery of the Scholar Girl, Xiao Yuyan. Without waiting for Xiao Boran and his son to recover, Qin Fusu's gaze focused on Xiao Yuyan and said, I am very interested in the Tang sect you mentioned. Would you be willing to go to the palace and explain it to me? Enter the palace to explain. This Xiao Yuyan was stunned. In her opinion, this matter can be explained here. Why did Qin Fusu let her enter the palace? You should know that the palace is not so easy to enter, as entering it represents without waiting for her to reflect. Xiao Boran beside him trembled as if he had thought of something and immediately spoke up, Your Majesty, Yuyan has no objection. After speaking, he gave Xiao Yuyan a wink and pleaded in a voice, Yuyan, this is where the survival of our Xiao family depends. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yuyan's delicate body couldn't help but tremble. As Xiao Boran said, if she refuses Qin Fusu's request now, the consequences will definitely be unimaginable. Although the person who stole the Black Dragon Talisman is from the 10,000 Poison sect, it is only a one-sided statement from them. Moreover, the brothers Xiao Zhan and Xiao Kuang did indeed have the intention to steal it before. Once investigated, Your Majesty. After pursing her lips, Xiao Yuyan looked at Qin Fusu and said, I am willing to enter the palace to tell Your Majesty about the Tang clan. Very good. Satisfied, Qin Fusu nodded and didn't say anything. He stepped forward and, under the astonished gaze of Xiao Boran and his son, picked up Xiao Yuyan horizontally. After finishing all this, he turned his head to look at Xiao Boran and said, Minister of War, I've heard about your daughter's national beauty and heavenly fragrance. Today, I'll take her back first. After speaking, he ignored Xiao Yuyan, who was still in shock, and turned around and walked towards the outside of the mansion. At the same time, the shadow guards led by Zhang Han also began to evacuate in an orderly manner. In just over 10 breaths, only Xiao Boran and his son stood inside the courtyard of Xiao Mansion, facing each other. Father. After a moment, Xiao Kuang and Xiao Zhan regained their senses, exchanged a glance, and looked a bit puzzled as they asked, Why is Your Majesty doing this? Did he take a liking to his younger sister? My younger sister is in the palace, are we okay now? Shut up. Upon hearing this, Xiao Boran's face turned black and he immediately turned around to angrily rebuke, You two villains. It's all you who brought such a calamity to my Xiao family. I'll kill you two brats. During his speech, Xiao Boran burst into a rage, and his innate energy swept out, directly bombarding Xiao Zhan and Xiao Kuang. Ah! Ah! The screams echoed one after another, and the courtyard of the Xiao family was filled with the screams of the two brothers, Xiao Quan. For a full 15 minutes, Xiao Boran finally stopped and glanced at his son who was seriously injured on the ground. There was a hint of regret in his eyes, but it was soon replaced by determination. With a wave of his big hand, he said, "Someone, take these two rebellious sons down. No one can see them without my command." "Yes. Yes." The servants of the Xiao family, who had already heard the news, dared not neglect and quickly approached to take the Xiao Quan brothers away. They were as calm as cicadas and dared not provoke Xiao Boran at all. "Hey!" With a sigh, Xiao Boran turned his head to look at the destroyed gate and murmured, "A tumultuous autumn, and tumultuous autumn." On the other hand, the news that Qin Fusu forcibly broke into the Xiao family and took away Xiao Yuyan was obtained by various forces in Xianyang city at a visible speed. For a moment, there was a constant uproar in the city of Xianyang. Everyone showed signs of astonishment, never expecting Qin Fusu to launch such a fierce campaign to steal the daughter of the Minister of War and enter the palace. Subsequently, some powerful figures also reacted. Although this incident is shocking, it is also an opportunity for them. Suddenly, impatient shouts echoed through various mansions. "Hurry up, quickly gather people to collect the beautiful women. Your Majesty is in power, and there is no owner in the harem. Quickly send someone to your hometown to pick up the young lady. What are you waiting for? Your Majesty's harem is empty, and it's our chance. Quickly pass the message back to the sect and let the sect leader make a quick judgment." Qin Fusu quickly received news of all these changes in the palace. Very good. He waved his hand to signal a shadow guard to come down, and Qin Fusu raised his lips. "They haven't even noticed my true diagram yet, that's enough." Zhang Han immediately increased the search for the 10,000 Poisons Gate in Xianyang City, and make sure to find that half of the Black Dragon Talisman before the 7th. "Yes, Your Majesty." With a promise, Zhang Han immediately turned around and left the room. King. Watching Zhang Han leave, Xiao Yuyan, who had already treated her wound, looked at Qin Fusu and said, "Is all of this your plan?" Not bad. Turning his head to look at Xiao Yuyan, Qin Fusu nodded and said, "Since the Black Dragon Talisman is not at your home, I cannot let others know that it has been lost. Miss Yuyan, please let me apologize for this while. Once the Black Dragon Talisman is found, I will have someone take you back." "Yes." With a promise, Xiao Yuyan's eyes showed a hint of disappointment. She had always thought that Qin Fusu had some thoughts about her before, and even her heart was conflicted for a long time on the way back to the palace. Originally, Qin Fusu was mentally prepared, but unexpectedly, she was not moved by her beauty at all. Everything was just to deceive outsiders. "Miss Yuyan." Not noticing Xiao Yuyan's response, Qin Fusu immediately spoke after a brief moment of contemplation. "Since you are studying under the Tang sect, you should also have some understanding of the martial arts forces within the state of Qin. Could you please tell me about it?" Although there were already Shadow Guard, Genie Guard, and Luo Wang, Qin Fusu's understanding of things outside the court was indeed very limited, and he really needed to make up for it in order to handle everything. "Yes." With a promise, Xiao Yuyan quickly restrained her inner disappointment and immediately spoke up, "Your Majesty, the martial arts forces within the state of Qin are complex and intricate, but the most famous force among them is called 1 Manor, 2 Mansions, 3 Gates, 6 Factions. The Sword God Mountain Villa referred to Bai Yizhuang. The 2 Mansions refer to the Prince of Spears Mansion and the Ba Dao Mansion. The 3 Gates refer to Tang Gate, Wu Gate, and Piaomiao Gate. The 6 sects are Wuyi Sect, Xiaoyao Sect, Yin Yang Sect, Divine Beggar Sect, Xuanjin Sect, and Baiming Sect. But in addition to these 12 major forces, there are also many small and medium-sized Jianghu forces, such as the 10,000 Poison Sect, Snake Gu Sect, etc. With Xiao Yuyan's narration, Qin Fusu gained some understanding of the martial arts forces of the Qin state. One village, 2 prefectures, 3 gates, and 6 sects represent the pinnacle of martial arts power within the state of Qin. But in addition, entities like the 10,000 Poison sect rely on the powerful officials of the court, who are not only the forces of the martial arts world, but also the minions of those powerful officials. Your Majesty. At this moment, a soft shout came from outside the door and disrupted the atmosphere inside the hall. Upon hearing this, Qin Fusu raised his eyebrows and said displeased, "Come in." Yes. Accompanied by a sound, a tall and thin eunuch walked into the main hall, bowing and bowing, "Maid Zhao Gao, pay respects to your Majesty." Your Majesty, the heavenly prison has just been invaded by bandits, attempting to rescue the captured Lv Wei. He has been killed by a trap and a leader has been captured. End of this chapter.